Welcome to the Roofing Business Growth Circle with Jacques Skuteeki, the go-to 15-minute power session for roofers who want more profit, better projects, and marketing that actually works. In each episode, you'll hear fast, practical ideas from real roofers and suppliers that can plug straight into your business and grow your bottom line. Now, get ready to level up your roofing business with your host, Jacques Skuteeki.
All right. Today we're talking about one of the most expensive problems in roofing, miscommunication. What gets sold isn't what gets built. And now you've got callbacks, frustrated customers, and lost profits. Today's episode number 3 is about communication breakdown. Willard, where does this actually start?
Oh man, this is a challenge that people have in business, they have in relationships, and it really is what's promised versus what gets delivered. We think people hear us, we think people understand, but they don't.
The salesperson says one thing, the crew delivers another, and now there is a callback. Why does this happen so often?
There's so many breaking points in the process. You know, the salesperson gets paid for making a sale. So a lot of times they, without bad intent, they will promise things to the customer that don't fall within the scope of the work because they want the deal. They don't make a commission if they don't close the deal. Or they may think what they're promising or what they're selling is easy for the crew to deliver, but it's not. They don't bring the estimator in before they actually make that promise to the client of what it's going to cost. There are so many touch points where that communication can break down. Even the delivery of the scope of work from the salesperson to the estimator to the crew, all of those things have to be locked down tight, and they're usually not.
So where does the communication break down first? Is it from sales to production or office to field, or where does it break down? Where does it start?
Really dependent in each situation. You know, sometimes it's from sales to production. You know, again, you've heard me refer to that commercial real estate development company several times. One of the major issues that they were having before we came in was the salesperson would go out and he'd do exactly what I said previously. They need to get the deal, and those were multi-million-dollar deals they were getting. So they would promise the moon. Oh yeah, we can do that wall for you. Yep, we can do that foundation that way. Yeah, we can build this for you. Absolutely. It's going to cost about this much. And they would bring it back. And then the estimator would get it. And then the architects would get it. And by the time they sat and went through everything, it's like, there's no way that we could deliver this at cost, because you're telling that we can build it this way, but there needs to be a supporting wall here. There needs to be this, there needs to be that. The salesperson doesn't know the specifics that go into production. Or there's other times where it's from the office to the field. The office gives general marching orders to the crew rather than specifics. This is exactly what you need to do. Here's where you need to stop. Do not pass go until we review it. Because a lot of times the crew is just like, oh, we know how to do this. We've done it before. And they go past that point of no return. And then the client's looking at it going, this is not what I wanted. You need to have milestones that can be checked in with the PM, can be checked in with whoever to go, okay, everything is operating according to plan before it goes past. And then you have to go, okay, we got to tear all this stuff down again. We have to undo the work that we've done. Those are two major breaking points, but there are more. It's just about clear communication.
I hear the term very often use tribal knowledge. What does that look like in a roofing company? And what does tribal knowledge, what does it mean?
So there's a saying that one of my mentors says, your greatest strength is your greatest weakness. You know, when you've got somebody that's been working for your company for 5 years, 10 years, however long, they have what we refer to as tribal knowledge or industrial knowledge. It's the fact that they have worked with you long enough that they understand how things work. They understand how they work as a roofing contractor. They understand how they work as a PM. They understand how you like things done most of the time. But that greatest strength can also be a greatest weakness. That if you have gotten to a point where you need to change the way your business is operating to grow from that 5 million to the 10 million, a lot of times they don't want to give up that tribal knowledge. Well, this is the way that we've been doing it since I started here. Yeah, but it's not going to get us to where we need to go. They have to be flexible enough to recognize that there are some things that are practices that must be the way they are, and there are other things that need to be improved. So tribal knowledge is phenomenal. It also can be one of your biggest demons to battle, depending on who's holding on to it and how they're holding on to it.
So it's how you believe that your business should be run, right? That's your core personal belief based on, your knowledge or your experience. And that's dangerous because very often it inhibits growth possibilities down the road.
Absolutely. Yep.
Like, I got to open a can of worms right now. I'm going to open that can right away. Can of worm is that how expensive are callbacks that started with unclear communication? Here we go.
I've seen callbacks that started with unclear communication end up in lawsuits. So how expensive would you like it to be? The client is expecting a very specific outcome. You have to be very clear on your agreements with them, that you have written those agreements, not to the point where they scare the clients, because that's what a lot of people do. They go, all right, I want to lawyer up and make these contracts so much that they're going to cover my butt that nothing will ever penetrate. Well, then you're reducing the ability to close clients because they're scared to sign the agreement.
Yep.
But you have to make sure that what you're promising in that agreement is delivered, because you've made that a contractual agreement with them. And if you don't deliver, again, I've seen it happen way too many times. They will sue you and you will lose often. So how expensive are callbacks that started with unclear communication? I don't want to be, what's the word I'm looking for? The boogeyman was scaring people. It could cost you your business. People are like, oh, I couldn't do that. Yeah, it could. Remember, there are people out there that they see your mistakes as their opportunity.
And in this conversation here, we're talking about leads and job details. Where does that information fall through the cracks, or how?
One of the biggest, again, challenges that we have as a species is we communicate in what I refer to as our model of the world, meaning the way I see things, the neighborhood that I grew up in, the schools that I went to, the beliefs that my parents had, whether they were political, economic, religious, whatever. And that frames the way I look at things. So the words that I use mean very specific things to me. And then when we get into industry terminology, again, we get narrowed down that those words we think mean the same thing to everybody because it's part of the industry language. But they don't. The difference in the definition of the word that you use with somebody, I mean, think about it. How many times have you had a conversation with him? I told you I wanted you to do this. They go, I did, but that's not what I wanted. But that's what you told me. How many times do we see, hear, observe those types of interactions? And it's because the words that came out of our mouth or that were written down on paper, they meant something to us, but they meant something completely different to the other person. Now, normally, what I've observed is when that happens, the person who said the words or wrote the words gets really defensive and starts saying about how stupid the other person is.
Yeah.
But we have to take responsibility and recognize we need to make sure that the person understands specifically what we want, especially when it comes to a project that they're building something and money is on the line. It's okay to say, do you fully understand what I'm asking for? And rather than just accepting, yep, go feed it back to me. Tell me what finished looks like and tell me why this is important. That's where you start to recognize whether your communication is lining up or not.
And we need to add something very small here. It's called listening. Are
Oh, yeah.
people because very often, I mean, our minds are wandering all over the place, and when you're having conversations, you're not necessarily 100% receptive to every word that is being shared with you, number one, and then number two, words mean different things for different people.
Yep.
So why do owners think they've communicated clearly when the team heard something completely different?
Again, it's that law of commonality. If I spend enough time around you, I start believing that you see the world the way I see the world, that you understand the way that I do things, because you've been around me long enough. You know what I want. We take it for granted. We think that people are inside of our heads. Think about this in your relationships. How often do you get upset and you're going, you should have known what I was thinking. You know me. Well, now you've got the business owner doing it with their people. You should have known. You're a professional. You're a project manager. You should have thought about it this way. They think about it in a different way. But, again, the owner stands behind, well, I communicated it clearly. Look, one of the biggest things that you have to learn in being a leader, being a business owner, is you have to be a chameleon. You have to recognize that every person on your team understands things differently. Some people need to see it in front of them. You need to show them the schematics of what you want. Other people, if you show them, it will overwhelm them. You need to tell them. You need to verbally say it to them. Some people, you need to put their hands on it. You need to recognize, how does the person you're communicating with need to receive that information? You have to take ultimate responsibility that if they didn't perform on the job, it's not their fault. You didn't communicate it effectively.
So what does a job look like when expectations are clear from estimate to the final invoice?
That is a beautiful experience in the sense that, look, there's always going to be little hiccups, but they're not dumpster fires. When the expectations are laid out from beginning to end, you've got a process that you will follow. You will know the milestones where you need to check in. And if anything is off course, you're able to correct it before it turns into a major, major problem. And it just relieves the stress. It makes your clients much more satisfied. You get better referrals and better reviews. I mean, the upside of it is limitless.
So how much smoother does production run when everybody is working from the same playbook?
It seems like it should be a common sense thing. Well, if everybody's working off the same playbook, everything should go smoothly. Again, they may be working off the same playbook right now, but they also may not have all the resources they need to execute those plays. So when you've not only given them the same playbook, but you've given them the skills, the strategies, the resources to execute those plays, now you've got a team that you can count on. Now you've got something going where you are able to step back and go with confidence, I know this job will be done on time, the way it needs to be done, because my team will come to me only when there is a big enough issue that they need to pull me in. Otherwise, they've been trained how to solve problems on their own.
So if someone wants fewer callbacks and fewer misunderstanding, where should they tighten things first? What's the secret sauce?
We've mentioned this previously, but not in depth. The place that starts the path to success is documenting your SOPs, documenting your processes. You cannot train people effectively. You cannot delegate effectively. And you cannot automate, even if it's an automated follow-up email, you cannot automate effectively if you have not documented the process first. And this is where so much of the misunderstandings come in. If you do not have a process map for every one of the processes you're working on, There's no way for you to sit down in a meeting and go, Jacques, show me exactly what step you're working on right now so we can see how to get you from the step you're on to the next step. Or show me where you're stuck right now and let's look back 2 steps to see what might have made this go easier. If you do not have a standard operating procedure and it's not documented, you will never know what's really going on out in the field.
Got that right. So if you're dealing with callbacks or confusions between your team, tightening communication is one of the fastest ways to increase profits. Smart clarity changes can make a big difference in your organization. And this is a pillar you can start improving immediately. Willard, thank you so much for sharing your great ideas today. And I'm looking forward to share more with the audience. Thank you so much again.
My pleasure.
If you're serious about winning, don't stop here. Visit roofingbusinessgrowthcircle.com and unlock our resource vault featuring valuable free tools, guides, and resources from our guest speakers. Listen to more episodes of the podcast and book a Beat Your Competition strategy call with Jacques. Until next time, keep raising the bar in your roofing business.